This is But I'll Take a Pinot Grigio podcast, Top Chef pairing. And to supplement our new Top Chef coverage, we recently interviewed Chef Day Joseph. She is the most recent eliminated, but she was really fun and she's from Georgia. So I hope you enjoy it. So you must be really busy right now as the show is creeping up on the premiere.
Yeah, mostly busy with like personal stuff though, because I am moving out of our home. We live in Douglasville right now, my partner and I. So we're moving back to the city, and I'm actually moving into a live workspace that I'm turning into my culinary studio.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's gonna have like my studio in it with like my kitchen, all the bells and whistles, and a private dining room where I'll be hosting more events, pop-up dinners, chef's tastings, and different brand activations that I do and things like that. So yeah, I'm moving from
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's kind of traumatic too. What part of town are you going to be in?
I'm gonna be in West Midtown.
Okay. All right. That's a pretty cool place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in the city before, and then 3 years ago, my partner bought a house in Douglasville, so we moved to Douglasville, and it's been cool. But we realize it's not for us.
But since we're talking about Atlanta, you've been in Atlanta, what, 6 years, I read somewhere?
Yeah.
What brought you to Atlanta?
So honestly, I came to Atlanta sight unseen. Like literally the day I moved to Atlanta was the first time I came to Atlanta, but I had known a lot about the city beforehand. I grew up in South Florida, so it's a hop, skip, and a jump. And I moved here to open a restaurant called Rocksteady Atlanta, which is an it's an Afro-Caribbean concept located in West Midtown, very close to where I'm about to move. And I moved here because I was living in New York working as a private chef. I had finished working at Danielle and finished working at Spring Place. And the opportunity presented itself to become an executive chef down here. So in New York, I was an executive sous. I was a sous. And when I was presented with this opportunity for Atlanta with all its growth and all its potential, especially with how big and robust the Black ownership is down here, especially for Black women, I passed it up. So I was like, okay, I mean, again, like I moved down here. I had never been to Atlanta before, but I knew enough about it. And I like to take leaps of faith because I feel like I've been sort of designing this career and designing this life for a while now, and it just made sense. Like Afro-Caribbean cuisine was already on its way to being more recognized and more popular, and I really wanted to be a part of that narrative and shaping that identity in Atlanta. And I felt like with my New York experience, I could come to Atlanta and sort of be a big fish in a small pond. Although Atlanta isn't a small pond, it's a burgeoning hospitality space.
Yeah, it depends on where you are too, right? Sometimes it can feel like the biggest city ever, and then sometimes it can feel like the littlest city inside a big city. So,
Yeah.
Atlanta kind of has its own kind of rep in terms of the foodways. Like people talk about it like, oh, kind of like Savannah or like Charleston. Do you find that, or, Orlando or whatever, do you find that Atlanta is carving out its own kind of vibe in terms of like what you cook and what people order and what the demand is?
Oh my, yes. So the great thing about Atlanta is the people here are open, they're explorative, they're curious. So anything you bring to them, as long as you bring it with a sense of confidence and like there's a story behind it, the quality makes sense, they'll receive it. However, especially in the Black owned spaces, there is a formula to the menus. And sometimes it could become a little redundant. Every menu has some type of a chicken wing, a salmon, a lamb chop. I have never eaten so many lamb chops until I went to Atlanta.
Greens too, I would imagine. I imagine you cook a lot of greens.
So there's a juxtaposition of like almost this tradition of Southern cuisine and the comfort foods that people are used to. Like salmon is very prominent in every menu, whereas like I'm like, there's more fish in the sea. But again, people are curious and they're excited. And if you bring something, and the biggest thing about Atlanta, right, is you can't come to Atlanta talking bad about Atlanta. If you come to Atlanta,
How dare you?
Right. If you come to Atlanta, because even the most pretentious of chefs, like coming from New York, where we have like a plethora of cuisines and so many different like juxtapositions of styles. Coming to Atlanta, in order for Atlanta to receive me, I had to receive Atlanta first. Like everything that comes with it as it is, and not necessarily try to change things, but almost just, add my flair to it. Like once I was able to do that, so some of the menus I was crafting at first were, very reminiscent of my fine dining training, very, white tablecloths, formal service. But then I realized, people want the level of professionalism and service, but they want things that are familiar. So for instance, when one of the restaurant owners asked me to put wings on the menu, I was like, I don't want to serve wings, but I'm gonna make duck wings. So I had lemon pepper duck wings, right?
Okay.
And so, right. So I was able to use a protein that to me feels a little bit more like elevated, and not necessarily elevated, like, but more so curious and interesting. But then place it with lemon pepper, which is like Atlanta's like pumpkin spice, you know? So, because it's literally in everything. So, what I find is that if you welcome yourself to Atlanta and you just immerse yourself in the culture without so much trying to impose your own, it feels good. It's more welcoming.
And Atlanta can be a little bit of an island as well. Like you can throw a football and hit, a CEO suite, and you can throw a football another way and hit somebody who's, a first generation college student. Are you finding ways or that you've had to incorporate like other sort of Georgia staples, right? Like you're talking about, or things that you used all the time that you kind of had to find a Georgia based equivalent for? You said you use duck wings, but like things that you're having to adjust just a little bit, your staples to sort of like make it play a little?
Yeah, so there's a compromise, right? Again, like I want to come in, I want to have my own voice, and then I want to like kind of narrate my storyline when it comes to food, but then I want to respect what's already here, the foundation that's already here. I would say mostly what I found in my first few years of running restaurants was the way that food was cooked. So for instance, people wanted their wings fried hard. They wanted their salmon blackened. And as a chef who's trained by Michelin chefs, like, I don't want to cook your steak well done. I want to cook it medium or medium rare because that's what is going to bring out, like, the taste of the meat and everything. But then you have to give people what they want. You know what I mean? There's almost a sense of like humility that comes with this role where it's like, I have to create what I want to put out, but also give people what I want to be welcomed. So it's not because the Southern foodways are very aligned with where I come from as well, from being Haitian. Like
Right.
we do eat a lot of greens, we eat a lot of stews, we eat a lot of fried foods. Like it's not that big of a juxtaposition. For me, it was all about presenting it in a more elevated way and also making sure that the service standards were there and consistent with how I want to be reflected in the space.
Yeah, and so much of Southern culture is formed by Black culture, and so
Mhm.
much of Black culture is informed by the diaspora of,
Mhm.
like, the African ways, and so, I didn't really think about that overlap just then until you said that, but that's a really interesting idea that you're sort of already kind of in the way. So what do you make, like a dish or something that immediately takes you back to where you're like to home? Like, oh, like maybe I don't feel good one day. I want to make something to eat, or I miss my mom, or whatever that you eat
Oh
immediately, and
my
that's
gosh.
what you make.
Oh man. So fried red snapper,
Okay,
Haitian Georgian rice. So Georgian is our black trumpet mushroom, which is exclusively only found in Haiti. It is a dried mushroom variable that literally doesn't grow anywhere else but in our terroir. So I make a rice out of it. So it's called dili Georgian. Most people refer to it as black rice, but we don't want you to say black rice. We want you to say dili Georgian.
okay.
Just because it just honors the dish because of the fact that, that's the proper name. Because there's
Chef Day, will you spell that for the
yeah, I
Southern
will
right
spell
lady,
it.
please?
It's Diri, so Dili, which is rice,
Uh-huh.
and then Jonjon, which is DJON,
Okay.
Jonjon. So like John John, right? So the same way we could say jollof, we could say paella, we could say risotto, we could say Dili Jonjon, right? So
Uh-huh.
Dili Jonjon, and then fried plantain, like
Love
green
that.
fried plantain, like the
My wife is
tostados
Puerto
fried.
Rican, and I'm only recently on the plantain boat, so I love a fried plantain.
Oh my God, yes. So like
Mhm.
fried plantains, green fried plantain, and then pickles. So pickles is our sort of like spicy. Some people refer to it as like a spicy slaw, but it's not mayo based, it's pickled. So you got your vinegars, you got your peppers, you got your onions, carrots, and that is my like that is my comfort meal. When I'm having a bad day, when I need to just feel at home, because growing up in South Florida, you could like go to any restaurant and there's fried snapper everywhere. Every time I go to Florida, I eat at least 5 fried snappers. But that is my go-to meal. It is a classic Haitian meal, and it actually was voted the best thing to eat in Atlanta by Eater magazine. It was, yeah, it was.
Love that so much.
Yeah, it was on the menu for Apartment 4B, which is the restaurant that I was the executive chef of in 2020. We opened right in the middle of the pandemic. And so black rice, your Jojo, right? Fried snapper, pickles, which is that spicy pickled slaw, and a spicy pickled cabbage, and then a good plantain. That'll do it for me every time.
Atlanta loved to see you coming, didn't they?
Oh my God. And that's what I'm saying. Like I already had those flavors. You know what I mean? Like I was already like frying things. I was already pickling things. Like, the pickles is reminiscent of like a chow chow. So it's already very southern. It's just spicy. You know what I mean? And snapper, a good fried catfish or anything like that is very consistent with that. So,
well, with the show being set in Greenville and then Charlotte, which Greenville and Charlotte have a little bit of a different vibe than each other, but like you already had some sort of that southern stuff. Was there challenges or meals that they asked you to make that were very southern that you had already kind of had a bit of an awareness of living here in the South, or?
Yeah, so locally, when I found out, because much like everyone else, I found out via Instagram where I was going to be going. And, like I wasn't told during the casting process, which is cool, because it kind of gives you that. But honestly, as soon as I saw that it was in the South, I felt a sense of confidence, because I was like, you know what? I've been living in Atlanta for 5 years. This was already preparing me for that. I was already studying a lot of Southern foodways. I was already studying a lot of like Gullah Geechee foodways and cultures. And again, being Haitian, Gullah Geechee foodways and Southern foodways are very closely related, because you're making something out of nothing. It's cooking from nose to tail. It's using the whole hog. So a lot of the challenges, a lot of the things that we were asked to cook, I had already felt a sense of confidence, because I had already been in the South for long enough. And because of my Haitian background, we eat a lot of provincial stews and foods that are very consistent with that food as well.
Yeah. So you came in ready then.
I did. And I was actually really thrilled, because I was like, I hope it's not like Montana or somewhere I know nothing about. You know what I mean?
I know. What if folks eat Montana? I don't know.
Yeah. Everything there.
Did you watch the show before you applied? I assume so, yeah.
Absolutely. So funny enough, because I started in fashion, I actually came up watching Project Runway. So
yes,
I wanted to be a fashion designer. And so I watched Project Runway like nobody's business. And then when I went into cooking, I started watching, actually before I even went into cooking, I started watching Top Chef. So I had been watching Top Chef probably since like season 6. Actually, no, whichever season Nina Compton was, that's when I really locked in.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might have been either 4 or 6. I can't remember, but she's amazing. And what she was already doing with Caribbean food was amazing. And this was long before I even knew I was going to be a chef. Then once I became a chef, that was my goal. Like, I knew becoming a chef that I wanted to be renowned. I knew that I wanted to come into this food space to be of service to people, but I also wanted to make a splash. I feel like food is my superpower, and the way that I'm able to serve people and the way that I'm able to bring people together is what I'm meant to do here. So in order to do it, I always known that I needed to have a platform where I was able to be seen, where I was able to, it's not so much about the accolades and, winning, but more so to have a voice and be able to be a part of the narrative. So Top Chef was a goal for me, actually. It's been a goal since I started cooking. It was like, okay, learn at a Michelin star kitchen, matriculate through the ranks, become a private chef, do my own thing, and then eventually get on Top Chef. And then from there, I knew that my career would continue to grow.
So as you're watching all the seasons, and I have a follow-up to this too, but did you see anybody's style? Like, I'm not saying like a necessary like chef style in the world, but the way that they performed on the show, did you say, okay, that's my play. I got to do that. I need to be this way. I need to do that way. Like, are you prodding? Do you have one that we kind of connected to?
Absolutely. Nina Compton, immediately.
Okay.
I want to be calm like her. I want to be strategic like her. I knew it's reality TV, and I had been on television multiple times before. I've watched reality television, so I know there's a lot that could come at you. And when Nina was shooting, that was the time when they were shooting around the clock. So the cameras were in their face all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw her composure, her calm, her ability to lead under pressure, her ability to stay true to her roots and her heritage and unapologetic, like she was trained in French fine dining restaurants, but everything she made went back to her diasporic roots. And so I said to myself, I want to be like her. Like I want to be as calm, calculated, confident. I want to always talk about my food enthusiastically, even if it's not, you know, if somebody's doing Asian cooking and they're bragging about it, I'm gonna stay doing Caribbean food in one way or the other, and I'm gonna brag about that. So she was definitely a blueprint for me in terms of like how I just even wanting to be perceived in a certain way. She just like moved with so much grace. Like even though I feel like she was robbed at the end, she still moved with so much grace. You know what I mean? Like she accepted it, she moved on, and now she is still doing her thing. So yeah.
Do you feel like the whole, like, calm and collected and composure played out for you? You feel like that's kinda how it went for you? Because it feels like that would be such an incredible amount of pressure and scrutiny and fairly demoralizing in some ways. So, you feel good about how he left it?
Yeah, I feel very good about it. I ate a lot of ashwagandha gummies. I was as calm as I could be. I was as deliberate as I could be. There's a lot that's thrown at you at once. And yeah, I my biggest thing is like I wanted my personality and my talents to shine through in a way that wasn't going to feel like, I wanted it to be honest, like, I'm very positive, I'm very optimistic, I'm very kind, I'm excitable, so I wanted that to be portrayed. So even when things got rough and I got frustrated, it was very important for me to maintain that level of composure because I'm representing a whole group of women. I'm not even a group of women, I'm representing my own nation. You know what I mean? So,
No pressure at all there.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Cool, cool, cool. Just, my entire community. Um,
Yeah.
do you think that it is the performance on Top Chef is a accurate way of someone's, like, chefhood, right? Like, your overall does it give you an overall sense of who they are, do you think? Or is it a very truncated or a very, like, abbreviated way to see somebody?
Honestly, no.
Yeah?
Um, no. It's television,
Mhm.
it's meant to shock and entertain. And a lot of the things that we have to deal with, we would never deal with on in real life. Although in real life, we deal with some crazy things. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I don't think it is a direct reflection of any of us as chefs. But what it is almost a small portal into what it looks like when we put chefs in these positions. So it's like this is what happens when we do this to these chefs. This is not what these chefs are like all the time.
That's a really interesting way to look at it, specifically for, like, through the lens of a real produced show. I really like that a lot. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, a lot of it is very it's all very natural, like, but again, we're finding ourselves in situations that we wouldn't normally be in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like you have to pull from your prior experiences of dealing with stress and dealing with chaos or dealing with, fun and exposure and all the great things. This is not just stressful. It's actually really thrilling. And now I have like 14 really great chef friends. Like we're in a group chat, we're chatting with each other, we're supportive.
Yeah.
So it's the good and the bad, but it's not a reflection of who a chef is. It's how does a chef react in this position? It's more so that.
So, without giving anything away,
Mhm.
did you feel, like, prepared when you walked in that first day, terrified? Were you just, like, numb to it? What was that those first moments like for you? How you kinda grappled with what you were feeling?
There's a clip that they used in a preview, and it's me saying, "You can never truly prepare for what they're about to throw at you," and that's true.
I did
There was
watch that.
no way
That's
I
so
could
funny. It
prepare for
slipped
that.
right in. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, because it's like you could be Einstein meets uh, Anthony Bourdain meets Martha Stewart. Like you could have all the best tricks up your sleeve, and you could be so prepared. But you have cameras in your face. You're in a competition. You're doing things you've never done before. You're under a time crunch. So there's really no preparation for it. Even watching all of the shows, like I watched the entire series before I went on, like all
Smart.
22 seasons.
Mm.
It was always playing. Like my partner got sick of me because like that's all I watched. But you truly can't prepare for it. It's not. the only thing that prepares you is the experience you've already had, right? Again, it's like, for instance, one of my toughest experiences that I dealt with was that, like, I went to cater a wedding in New York and I got horribly burned and I couldn't show up to execute the wedding. So I had already had so many systems in place and the food was already like 90% of the way done and I had a great team. So I was literally attached to a morphine drip in the hospital,
Yeah.
overseeing my service via iPad, right? And so that's unfortunately some of the things that you deal with as a chef. But because of my training, because of my experience, I was prepared for that. So I would say it's similar to that. Like I didn't expect to get burned that day and not be able to show up to my client's wedding, but I did expect, like I was already prepared, so I was able to like execute regardless. So that's kind of like, I would say my experience on the show was similar to that. It was like I wasn't prepared for exactly this challenge, but I've been preparing myself for this role and for this task since the beginning of my career.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're for real rooting for you. I live in Columbus.
Yes.
We're about an hour and a half south of Atlanta. And first off, the South is like the hub for supper clubs, which I'm in a supper club too because I'm a baby
Yeah.
maid. What
Yeah.
does immersive supper club mean? I've saw that in a couple of
Yeah.
things that I was reading. What does that mean?
It means that for me, at least, because I'm sure other people may have other definitions, but for me, it means that it invigorates all five senses. So, what you smell, what you taste, what you see, what you hear, what you feel. And so when I do a supper club dinner, I'm not just presenting a menu, I'm presenting a story for one, because each menu is going to be different. So I'm presenting a story, usually orating all of the dishes and telling you why and how. But then when you walk into the space, the decor and what you see around you is reflective of that menu. The sounds are reflective of that menu. The smells are reflective of the theme or the menu. So when I say immersive, it's almost like you're in that. It's kind of like a storybook thing. So have you ever seen like Water for Chocolate or
Yeah.
heard about? So that's one of my favorite books of all time. There's also Simply Irresistible, which is like the American version of it. So this woman, whenever she cooks something, whatever feeling she was feeling is emoted through the food. So that's how I cook. So I create and design experiences where whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm promoting, whatever brand I'm collaborating with, whatever client has asked me to create this, I put parts of that into the meal, into the experience. So like I did a dinner party once where everything was an aphrodisiac. So I did a ton of studying on aphrodisiacs and I created a menu full of aphrodisiacs. I also incorporated visuals around the space that were reminiscent of aphrodisiacs. Like I had red roses everywhere, dark candles, like, a violin. I made it really sexy. And
Folks
so,
just left super horny that night then, I guess.
absolutely. Oh my God. Rumor has it,
I
somebody got lucky in one of the bathrooms. I
I
don't
said,
know.
they better have, right?
So when I say immersive, that's what I mean is that like every sense, every detail down to if I did an outdoor experience, I have custom made organic bug spray for you. Everything is thought of, everything is, and then usually I also incorporate art so that we'll have the visual aspect. So I'll find one of my artist friends who might be working with a subject matter that fits into the menu, and I'll have them display their art all around the space and incorporate it into the experience as well.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Uh, so what would be the best way for my readers or my listeners to interact with your food or your service? Is it the private chef situation? Can they go? Like, how can we find you? How can we,
Yeah.
like, eat something that you're made? Like, tell me
Yeah,
everything.
so that's why I wanted to have my own space finally. Everybody's been asking me like, when are you gonna open a restaurant? And that wasn't a goal of mine. So that's why now I have the culinary studio. So you're able to find me there. You get on my newsletter list, my email list, and you'll be able to see the invitations for all the different dinner parties and events that are happening in that space. It's gonna be in the west of the town. So now I have a physical space that I'm going to be hosting on the regular. I'm talking like probably 3 or 4 dinners a week, honestly, as often as I could. Yeah, as often as I can. It's not gonna be a restaurant, but I'm gonna run it as close to having consistent seatings as possible. A lot of chefs are going towards this business model because opening a commercial space is so expensive. So yeah, the best way to connect with me is, follow me on Instagram. My website is going to be updated with like a calendar of events and all the different offerings that I have. Like, I'm getting really serious about my content as well. So then you'll be able to see me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and all those things. I also am going to be doing a couple different new segments as well. But now you can find me. It's still a private space, so it's not just like open to anyone. Like, I'm not giving out the address unless you book. But like, let's say like these days, like when clients, like I just booked a event for some C-level executives in the month of March. I'm doing a brunch for some CEOs, some ladies that are in tech. And so you're able to find me through my website. You're able to book your own personal experiences, your dinner parties, your anniversaries, anything that you want to celebrate.
That's
And then
smart.
also, yeah, and then also I'll have a calendar of events as well that you can attend. And then two, my hope is to activate more with brands too. So last year I got the pleasure of activating with Lululemon, a few different food and beverage brands, Nike, and then also coming up because FIFA World Cup is going to be in Atlanta. I plan
That's
on
right.
doing a night market sort of pop up, especially when Haiti is in town to play.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be posting that. That'll be out there. It'll be on the website. It'll be on the Instagram. It'll be on the YouTube. It'll be everywhere you can find it. And so, yeah, it's just for me, it's going to be as the demand grows and as people are looking for more third spaces and as much as I am, I love restaurants, I respect restaurant chefs. I think what we do is so important in hospitality. However, restaurants are becoming a little less sustainable for everyone involved. And so these third spaces, these private spaces are popping up all over the country and all over the world to sort of like manage that need of like, we want to get together, we want to be in community, but we don't necessarily want to pay $45 for parking and 20% gratuity. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
I'm offering that, so cocktail hours, dinner parties, all that.
And what are we calling that? Where it's not a restaurant, it's like a private. It's like what? How do we
We're
call?
calling it an atelier. Atelier.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so an atelier is the French word for studio. It's a space where everything happens, where creation
Oh, right
happens.
on.
So it's going to be called Dine with Day Atelier.
Mhm.
So it's essentially where anything is possible. I'm going to be holding cooking classes. I actually have a partnership coming up with KitchenAid where I'm going to do cooking classes for young girls. And so I'm going to teach them how to cook the things they crave. So like you're craving sushi, let me teach you how to roll your own sushi. You're craving crumble cookies, let me
I
teach
love
you
it.
how to make your own interesting crumble cookies. So anything is possible in this space because people are wanting to learn how to cook. They're wanting to be in community. They're wanting to have happy hours and cocktail hours. And so that's what I'm going to be facilitating.
I mean, that's really smart too. And it sort of seems like it's filling a very specific hole in the market too, as it with all this. Well, we'll be watching and we'll be recapping Top Chef. My podcast partner, he's a restaurant background. That's kind of our bit. It's like I'm the pop culture professor and he's like the restaurant guy. So that's how we're going to cover it. We're definitely rooting for you.
Thank you so
And
much.
hopefully when you win, you can come back and chit chat with me. And
Thank
maybe I'll see
you
you
so much.
before then. All the atelier sounds super interesting.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, and good luck with the move, man. This is brutal.
Thank you. Yeah, I got one room empty. That's why it's so much of an echo in here because this group.
That's right. You're in the thick of it. We just dropped right into the thick of it.
Yeah, one room down, 3 more to go. Wish me luck.
All right. Well, good luck, and we will definitely be watching this weekend.